Alright, so you have the data that you have collected from some source and saved it to a CSV or an Excel file. Now you want to create some charts using it. Let's say you want to create some basic charts like scatter charts, bar charts and line charts, but you don't know how to proceed further. So you being a programmer, do a quick Google search, which is the best programming language to create data visualizations. And surprisingly, Python tops the list. It is the most preferred language to create data visualizations. Now you know that you can create charts using Python. So you do one more Google search. How to create charts using Python? And the result of this query confuses you again because Python has a bunch of libraries to create data visualizations. Now some of these libraries like Matplotlib, Seaborn and Plot9 help you create static charts, whereas other libraries like Bokeh or HoloViews or Plotly helps you create interactive charts. Now if you are looking to create interactive charts, then you can go ahead with Bokeh or Plotly or HoloViews. All these interactive data visualizations libraries are based on JavaScript and will work in web browsers only. But if you're looking for a high quality and publication ready static charts, then I would recommend that you use Matplotlib. Matplotlib is the oldest and most stable Python data visualization library. It has very vast API to create many different type of charts, and it is still preferred by many data scientists and ML engineers worldwide. You would be surprised to know that many charts created in various publication papers till this day uses Matplotlib to create charts. Now, if you ask someone like me who has created charts using many different Python libraries, that which library should you learn first to create charts, then I would recommend that you go ahead with Matplotlib. Hello and welcome to CoderzColumn. I am Solanki, and in this video I will explain you how to create charts using Python library Matplotlib. We'll be creating charts in Jupyter Notebook, and we'll be using the PyPlot API of Matplotlib to create charts. So without further ado, let's jump to my screen and create some charts, shall we? Alright, so here we are on my screen. As you can see on my screen, I already have Jupyter Notebook open. Now at the beginning of the notebook, I have highlighted important sections of the tutorial. We'll be covering 6 different chart types, which are scatter charts, bar charts, line charts, step charts, pie charts, and histogram. At the end of the tutorial, I will share with you more resources from where you can learn Matplotlib, even more charts. So let's start. So first of all, what I have done over here is that I have imported Matplotlib and printed the current version. So current version on my system is 3.5.3. Now this is the latest version and the stable version. Okay, so let's move on. Now this is the line cell magic command of Jupyter Notebook. And why do I need to execute this command? The reason behind this is that I am creating charts in Jupyter Notebook. And in order to display charts in Jupyter Notebook, we need to call this magic commands. Okay, so if you are not using Jupyter Notebook and if you are creating chart in shell or else saving chart code as a Python file, then you don't need to call this command. This is for Jupyter Notebook only. Alright, so before we move on and create charts, we need to load data sets, right? We need some data to create charts. So over here I am loading data sets. So I have selected 2 different data sets for our purpose. The first data set is wine data set. Now this data set is available from Python library scikit-learn, and it has information about various ingredients used in creation of 3 different types of wine. So let me execute this cell and load the data set. As you can see on my screen, the data set is loaded. And as you can see, there are various ingredients mentioned: alcohol, malic acid, ash, and at last we have wine type, which are 3 different wine types: class 0, class 1, and class 2. Okay, and we have loaded dataset as a pandas data frame, and we'll be creating all the charts from pandas data frame. Okay, and the second dataset that we will use for our purpose is Apple OHLC dataset. Now this dataset I have downloaded from Yahoo Finance as a CSV file, and then I have loaded it in memory as a pandas data frame. So let me execute this cell So as you can see, we have loaded Apple OHLC dataset. Now I have set index call to 0 and parse dates to true. This will recognize data of this column date as date time type. So this is important. Okay, so the first chart type that we will introduce is scatter plots. Now, first of all, I want to create a very simple scatter plot. So I want to create a scatter plot showing relationship between two ingredients from our wine dataset, which is alcohol and malic acid. So first of all, I have imported Matplotlib.pyplot as PLT. As I said earlier, we'll be creating charts using pyplot API, and it has all the methods that we need to create charts. So first of all, in order to create charts, I need to just call simple method, which is scatter. Now for x-axis, I want to give wine df of alcohol, and for y-axis, I need to give wine df of malic acid. Now calling data frame like this, wine df of alcohol, will give us list of values which are present in that column. And after this, I need to call plt.show. Now this method plt.show is optional for me because I am creating charts in Jupyter Notebook. But if you are creating charts in shell or saving the code as a Python file and executing it, then you need to call this method. Calling this method will only show charts. So let me execute this cell for you guys. And as you can see, here we have our first scatter plot. So it was that simple to create scatter plot using Matplotlib. We are able to create scatter plot with just one line of code, as you can see. Now you will notice from this result that I don't like this result. It's a very simple, and we have many things missing. Like we don't have access labels, we don't have titles. Okay, so let's go ahead and introduce those things. So let me copy this code over here, and we'll be modifying many default properties like point colors and all. So let me go ahead and do that. So in order to give label to axis, there are two methods: x label, give label to x axis, and y label to give access to y axis. So I can give x label as alcohol, y label as malic acid. Let's give title. There is a method called title. So alcohol is malic acid. So we have x label and y label, and we have title as well. Let me execute this. As you can see, now we have labels alcohol and malic acid, and we have title as well. All right, let's go ahead and introduce ticks. Okay, so currently ticks are going from 11 to 15, and it's going like 11, 11.5, 12. I don't like that. I want like from 11 to it should go to 12 and 13 and that way. So what we can do is that, all right, before we modify ticks, let me change the limit. Now you see the chart looks very congested. So I want to set start and end limit in a way that points are not congested. So let me do that. So I will modify x limit to, it's starting from 11. Let me start from 10, and it's currently ending at 15. Let me end it at 16. Okay, and for y axis, we can use ylim method, and it's starting from 1. So let me start from 0. It's going till 6. Let me extend it till 7. All right, so now you can see our chart is not congested. Now let's go ahead and modify ticks. So there is a method named xticks, which can be used to modify x axis ticks, and there is a method named yticks which can be used to modify y axis ticks. So the first parameter to this method is ticks. Now I will use simple range function, which will give me list of Python numbers. So I want to go from 10 to 17, okay, which will give me 10, 11, 12 till 16. And the second parameter to this method is labels. So these were ticks, and now what labels to give to those ticks? So I will again use this range 10 to 70. Now, if you want, you can give list of strings as well to labels, and we'll be explaining in one of our upcoming examples. So you will know how to give string as label. So that was for x-axis. Now let's modify text for y-axis. I want to go from 0 to 8, so it will go from 0 to 7, and same 0 to 8. Right, let me execute this code. As you can see, now we have our text modified. Now let's go ahead and modify some more property of points. So using color parameter of scatter method, I can specify color. There is a parameter named s which can be used to set size. So let me set it to 50, let's say. And using alpha parameter, you can specify opacity of points. So I will set it to 0.8. So let me execute the code for you. Okay, so still points look little small. So let me set it to 75 and execute the code for you. Okay, so now it looks little good. Now, before we move on, I don't like the size of this chart as well. So how can I modify the figure size? So let me do that. We can call figure function. Now we should be calling this function at the beginning. So there is a parameter named figure size, which I can call, and I can give like size over there. I want to see 8 by 8 figure. So let me modify that. All right, now this one looks little better. So what I will do is that I will modify size again. I will set it to 10 by 7. So here we go. Here we have modified our figure size as well, as you can see. Now, if you want to modify the default markers are circles, and I want to change marker. So there is a parameter named marker, which I can set to various values. So if I set it to s, it will create squares. If you want to create triangles, then you need to use pyramid sign. Okay, so I will execute, I will set it as s as of now and execute the code. So as you can see, now the chart has squares. Okay, now before we move on, let me make few more changes to improve the look of this chart. Now you see over here, I think that the title is very small. So I want to modify title size. So there is a parameter named font dict, which I can give to title method, and I need to give it a dictionary. So I will give it a dictionary, and there I can specify font size. Let me set it to 20. I want to set font weight as well. I will set it to bold, and we can also change the location of title it using lock parameter. So it's currently in center. I want it to start from left, and we'll add little bit of padding around it. So let me execute this code for you. And as you can see, now this modified title looks quite good. Now we can give this font dict parameter to other methods as well. So if I want to modify x-axis label, let's set it to 15 for x and y-axis, and I can give the same parameter to x-ticks methods as well, and I want tick sizes to be, let's say, 12. All right, as you can see, now this chart looks quite good compared to our previous chart. We are able to modify title text sizes and axis label text sizes and tick label text sizes as well. All right, so let's move on. So let's create one more chart, scatter chart, before we move on to our next chart type. Now, as you can see that in this scatter chart, all the points of the chart are colored with just one color, which is tomato. Now I want to modify this chart so that I have 3 different colors in my chart, and the points of the chart are colored based on wine type. So I have 3 different wine types, which are class 0, class 1 and class 2, and I want to point colors of those chart with different colors. Okay, so I will copy my code again. Now I will simply introduce for loop where I say I want wine type. So I will retrieve unique wine types from our wine df dataset. I will say wine df dot wine type dot unique. Now this will give me 3 unique wine type. And now what we will do over here, that we need to filter our dataset, wine dataset, so that we have entry for that particular wine type only. So I can do that using wine df dot wine type is equal to wine selected wine type, and give alcohol value from that filtered data frame. Same we will do for y-axis values as well. So let me move it to next line. Now color I won't specify. Okay, and for label I will specify label parameter because I want to see legends as well, and for that label parameter is important. And I will set label to wine. Okay, so now this will execute call plt.scatter method 3 times, and let me execute the code and show you the result. All right, so as you can see, now we have a chart points colored with 3 different colors. Now currently we don't have legend, so you don't know which is class 1 class. So let's introduce legend. We can introduce legend by simply calling plt.legend method, and it has a parameter named loc, and I will set it to value best, so it will find which is the best location to put legend on chart. So you can give other values to this parameter as well, yeah, top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right, and center, and many other. So all right, so here we have our modified scatter charts where we have a points of chart colored according to wine type. So it was that simple to create scatter charts using Matplotlib. Let's move on. All right, so the second chart type that we will introduce is bar charts. Now I want to create a simple bar chart where I am displaying what is the average value of one selected ingredient per wine type. Now in order to do that, I need to create one new data frame from our original wine df dataset. So what I will do over here is that I will call group by method on our original wine df data frame, and I want to group entries by wine type. And once I have done that, I want to call mean function on that, so that I have average ingredients for wine type. So let me execute this cell and show you the result. Now as you can see, I have 3 different wine types, class 0, class 1, class 2, and the values over here are average value for that ingredient. So 13.74 is average class 0 alcohol ingredients. Now I want to create a simple bar chart, and I want to create a bar chart showing average values of selected ingredient flavonoids. So let me do that. Now what I will do is, before we create chart, I will copy some of my previous code. Okay, so let me copy it over here. And first of all, I will remove unwanted code. I don't need X limit, Y limit, and text. Okay, so in order to create bar chart, we need to use bar method. And for x-axis, I will give wine df of wine type because that is my x-axis. And for y-axis, I will give wine df of flavonoids. Now for bar chart, the name for y-axis is height. We want to specify height of bar chart. Okay, and if you want to specify width of bar, so there is a parameter named width, which generally accepts value in the range 0 to 1, and by default it is set to 0.8. I will set it to 0.85 to make it look little good, and there is a space between bar as well. Now we don't need bar marker parameter over here. We'll keep color to tomato. We don't need size parameter as well. And there is a parameter named edge color, which I can set to some color which I want as edge of bars. So I will set it to black. Okay, and if I want to modify size of that edge, then there is a parameter named line width, and I will set it to 2 so I can see line properly. Now for x-axis, I want to give label wine type. Okay, because on x-axis we'll have wine type, and y-axis we will have average flavonoids, and over here we will change title as well, average flavonoids per wine type. So all right, let me execute this code and show you the result. As you can see, we have our bar chart ready, but I made a little mistake in creating a bar chart. So instead of using this average wine dataset that I have created for our purpose, I used wine DF. So let me modify that. That's why you are seeing this weird result. Okay, so here we have our first bar chart properly created, which is average flavonoids wine type. So as you can see, it was that simple to create a bar chart. We just change the main method from scatter to bar and modified some parameters, and we were able to reuse much of our previous code. Now, before we move on to our next chart type, let me introduce one more bar chart type, which is horizontal bar chart type. So what I will do, I will copy this code and I will paste it over here. Now, method to create horizontal bar chart is bar h, and now on y-axis we will have wine type, and we'll be specifying width of bars, which is flavonoids, and height will be the new width of a bar. So we need to change these 3 parameters only, and the method name is change from bar to bar h. And we also need to change over here, like now average flavonoids will be displayed on x-axis and wine type will be displayed on y-axis, right? So let me execute the code, and as you can see here we have our horizontal bar chart. So all right, let's move on to our next chart type. All right, so the third chart type that we will introduce is line charts. Now I'll be using our Apple OHLC data frame for creating line chart. So let me show you first few row of that data set. Now as you can see, I have already displayed few rows. Now I want to create a simple line chart where I am displaying close prices of Apple stock over time. So in order to create that, let me copy some of my code so that I don't have to rewrite it. So let me copy that. Okay, let me copy it over here. Now I will change figure size to 15, and we need to use plot method in order to create line chart. For x-axis, I will be using Apple DF of date. Y-axis, I'll be using Apple DF of close because I want to display close prices. Width is not needed. Color, let's set it to tomato only, and edge color is not needed. Line width we can keep, it is the width of the line, and let's modify x and y-axis labels. So x-axis label will be date, and y-axis label will be close price. Let me modify title as well. Close prices, let's say April 2019 to March 2020, because that is the range for which I have price. So let me execute the code for you. And as you can see here, we have our line chart. Now I don't like the ticks on x-axis. I want to see $sign next to them. So what I will do is that I will use white ticks method to modify ticks Now first will be ticks. So I will use our range function, which I will start at 150 and I want to end it at 350. So let me set it to 400 and let me increase it by 50 every time. So I will have range 150, 200, 250, 300 and 350. And for labels, what I will do is that I will copy this range and I will create a list comprehension that loop in this range and modified values so that I have dollar at the end. Okay, what format of X. Let me execute this code. All right, so as you can see, I have already introduced dollar sign next to them. Okay, so before we move on, let me create one more line chart for you guys. In this line chart, we have only one line, but let me create a one more line chart where we have multiple lines. So I will copy this code, and in this next line chart, I will plot all the 4 prices we have available, which are open, high, low and close. So let me modify our code. And okay, I will copy this one 4 times and let me modify values open, high, low and close. Let's modify colors as well, otherwise all will be tomato color. So let's say Dodger blue, lime, and let's use orange for last one. Now we need to specify label as well because I want to see legends, otherwise I won't be able to differentiate which line color represents which price. So over here price label will be open, and here it will be high, low and at last close. Now this will won't create legend. This won't create legend. We need to call legend method to display legend, and as usual I will set this to best. All right, so I have executed this cell, and as you can see here we have our second line chart where we have multiple lines. So let's move on to our next chart type. All right, so the fourth chart type that we will introduce is step charts. Now step chart is nothing but a kind of a line chart, and the line moves in a step like fashion. So what I will do that I will copy our line chart code to create step chart. So let me copy the code which I had used for line chart, and the step chart that I will create is simple step chart, again showing close prices of Apple stock. So I need to make only one change to this code, which is that I need to change method name from plot to step. That's all. So let me execute this code and show you the result. So there we have our step chart. Now you can see the values are moving in step like fashion. Let me change values a bit. Let me show you last 30 values only, so you see that proper step chart you will be able to see. All right, so here you go. You see over here we have proper step chart. Okay, so it was that simple to create step chart. It's just one kind of a line chart. So let's move on to our next chart type. Okay, so the fifth chart type that I will introduce is pie charts. Now I want to create a simple pie chart. I want to see distribution of wine type, like how many entries I have for wine type. So in order to do that, I have created one more data frame from our original wine data frame. So I have grouped entries by wine type again, but this time I have called count method on it. So I have a count of examples we have in our data frame for each wine type, and I have used alcohol column because it will have values. All the columns will have a count only. So I have modified the column name to count. So let me execute the cell and show you the result. So here I have my final data frame where I have count of entries for each wine type. All right, so let's create a pie chart showing distribution of these three wine types. So I will copy my code as usual. Right, so here we are. I will change figure size to 7 by 7. For I need to use pi method to this. For x-axis, I will say wine df count of count, and for labels, I want to use wine df count of wine type, and I can specify colors as well. Let's say tomato, lime, and dodger blue. We don't need ticks and access labels. Let's set title wine type distribution. Let's set pld.legend best, and this should create wine chart. So let me execute the code, and as you can see, here we have our wine chart. Let me remove this parameter so we have a title in center. Now you see this one looks a very simple line chart. I don't see like what percentage of samples belong to particular class. So what I will do is that I will copy this code and let me show you how to add percentage. So to add percentage, there is a parameter named auto percent, which we need to set to format. So the format is starting with percent. So I will say 0.2f. So it will be giving us the percentage value up 2 numbers after decimal points, and then I need to display percent. So yeah, so I need to specify percent 2 times to escape the percent sign. So let me execute this cell and show you the result. All right, so now here we have our line chart where we have percentage displayed. Okay, so it was that simple. Now let's move on and create one more wine pie chart type, which is very famous and which is donut chart. So I will copy my previous code. Now what I will do, in order to create donut chart, I just need to specify the inner radius. So I want to specify inner radius, which I can do using a parameter named wedge props. This parameter accepts dictionary, so I will say dict, and there is a parameter named width, which I will set to 0.5. So let me execute the code, and as you can see, now it has created donut chart. Okay, so it was that simple to create donut chart, but you see the labels are very near to inner circles. So let me move it little outside, and there is a parameter called percent distance. Let me set it to 0.7 and see. Okay, so now it is looking properly. And there is one more thing. There is a parameter named text props, which I can set to specify like what should be properties of text getting displayed. So what I'll do, I will specify font size to, let's say, 15. So we have a little bit bigger font, and font weight to bold. So let me execute the code, and okay, so there is an error. Okay, instead of bold, I have printed bolds. So let me change that to bold and execute the code. Yeah, all right, as you can see, you can even modify color if you want. Let's say I want color to be, let's say, white. Okay, now we have a white color labels. Now before we move on, I forgot to show you one more important things when creating a pie chart. So let me show you. that in this pie chart only. Now, many times when you see pie chart, people have one wedge moved little bit outside to draw attention to that particular wedge. So in our case, let's say I want that this wedge of class 1, I want to draw people's attention to that wedge. Let's see, this is the highest percentage class. We have maximum number of sample from this class only. So how can I do that? So there is a parameter named explode, which accepts a list of float values in the range 0 to 1, and the length of this list should be same as category variable values. So in our case, it's 3 values: class 0, class 1, and class 2. So what I will do, I will set it to, for first one I don't want to commit out, but for second one I want to commit out to 0.1. I want little bit for class 1 to come out. For class 2 I don't want it to come out. Let me execute this, and as you can see, now I have a wedge moved little bit outside. So yeah, that was the last thing that I wanted to inform you. All right, let's move on to our next chart type. Right, so the sixth and the last chart type that I will introduce is histograms. So the first histogram that I will create is simple histogram showing distribution of alcohol values. So as usual, I will copy some of my previous code. Let me copy code where I have to make less modifications. So let's remove unwanted code. Let's say I want to create histogram, so I need to use hist method, and the first value will be OYNDF of alcohol. So it will show you histogram of this value. So let me execute this and show you. Alcohol is, now we don't need legends. So as you can see, we have our histogram, and it has selected beans by different, which we can modify using beans property. I will modify color as well. Let me set it to orange. Let me modify opacity as well, say 0.8, and let me modify chart type as well, set it to 12/7. And all right, so here we have our modified histogram showing distribution of alcohol, and we can modify beans using beans parameter. Okay, so here we created a simple histogram of only one data column. Let's create one more histogram where I am displaying distribution of more than one ingredients or data column to be specific. So what I will do, I have decided that I will show you distribution of 4 ingredients, which is alcohol, malic acid, ash, and color intensity. So in order to do that, I just need to copy this call to his function 4 times, which I will do. So first is alcohol, second is malic acid, third is ash, and fourth is color intensity. And let's modify color as well. Use orange for 1, and then lime, then dodger blue, and then tomato. And as we want to see legends as well, we need to specify label parameter, which I will set to alcohol, malic acid, ash, and color intensity. Let's call our legend method to display legend. Let's set location to best. So let's execute the code and show you the result. All right, there is a minor mistake. I forgot to specify label over here. So let me execute the code, and here we have our new histogram where we have specified 4 different quantities or 4 different data columns and create histograms of them. Yeah, so that's it. All right, so here is the summary of the charts that we covered in our tutorial. Now if you want to learn more about Matplotlib, then I would recommend that you visit our website CoderzColumn.com. And once you go over there, you can simply search for Matplotlib, and it will show you list of tutorials that we have on that particular library. So right, so that's it for the day. If you liked our video and if you learned something new today, then give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more such videos, and see you next time.